It wasn't our workers' fault. It wasn't our airline's fault that China did this terrible thing to us, and I will not be forgetting about that. China did this. This was all done by China. And we shouldn't be hurting our workers because China put the curse on, because this was a horrible scourge, a horrible thing that they did.
If you believe this is a line of demarcation, okay? Because this was like Pearl Harbor. Go back in time, when we first started this show, by the way, when we were mocked and ridiculed by all our betters in the mainstream media, right? And all our betters here in the political apparatus, right? On both the left and the right, okay? Go back in time. On the 14th or 15th of January, in the White House, in the East Room, in the infected White House, in the East Room, where they got to walk around now, around the president in the Oval Office with, in hazmat suits. Let's be blunt. In the 14th, 15th, there's a delegation of 80 guys, senior cadre of the CCP, to sign this is the moral equivalent of the Japanese ambassador being in Cordell Hall's office on the late morning and early afternoon of December 7th, 1941, negotiating a peace treaty, right? When they were coming across the horizon at Pearl Harbor with, guess what, the torpedoes that they had, put the fins on and done because of the the harbor at Pearl, right? How shallow it was, so they could take out the battleships, destroyers, and cruisers in cold blood. If what Dr. Li Mingyang, if you believe it, if she makes her case, it's an act of war. Let me be blunt. It's not something to be happy or unhappy about. Our government and the President of the United States, and I'm his biggest supporter, right, has got to address this.
Welcome. It's the 10th of October, the year of our Lord 2020. Saturday, you're in the war room. My wingman, Jack Maxey, Stephen K. Bannon. This is, I think, the most important 2 hours we've had of the entire war room pandemic since we started. Yesterday, on the Daily Mail, the biggest website in the world, on the homepage, they broke the story of Dr. Meng Yan and her second white paper about this being a bioweapon. She's taken it up a notch. And the largest news site in the world responds by giving her front page coverage right below the president and Nancy Pelosi, I think, going at it. I will not be forgetting about this. Mr. President, let me be brutally frank. History will not judge you well unless you, as leader of the United States, the chief magistrate, the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, do more than I will not be forgetting about this. Or I'm not happy about this. Mike Pence, don't ever use that phrase again. He's not happy about this. You're driving me nuts. You're a wartime president. We said this, you said this. Back in March, as I turned to my wingman, producer Vish and Jack Maxey, a wartime president. Why are you a wartime president? This virus is a weapon. Whether it was done on purpose or inadvertently done after a gain of function, and Dr. Yan, and that's why we have her on for all of 2 hours today, will walk you through why Steve Bannon and others' conclusion that it might have been a gain of function experiment gone awry is just not correct. Dr. Yan is important in world history for three things. Number one, she is a witness of fact of exactly what went on and how it went on and the timing of when it went on. And she's the only one that has, there are others that have defected. She is the first one to come forward at great jeopardy to her career, to her person, to her family, to her friends, to her associates, to what was once her way of life. She's also then wrote the white paper that challenged the world, and particularly the science-based, data-based, evidence-based, on the payroll-based, right? On the payroll, let's be blunt. All these great institutions, from the Catholic Church to Wall Street to now the scientific journals. Raheem Kassam in the National Pulse just pulls out, what is it, New England Journal of Medicine. Oops, got a Chinese Communist partner putting cash in. Dr. Yan takes it on and says, hey, guess what? Didn't come from a wet market. Didn't come from a bat cave. Batwoman that the media is playing up as a hero. Maybe she's not a hero. Then Dr. Yan takes it up another notch and says, hey, I think the West, you're looking at what you know you're looking at. It's a thought through, organized, highly sophisticated network of a biological weapons program. How is history going to judge us? Please don't say, I will not be forgetting about this. Please don't say, I'm not happy. Please don't say that, she's my friend. The president does, 2 hours of the rally on yesterday on Rush Limbaugh? And he's going back, you go back to the videos, you go back to Rush, he's coming after China. By the way, it's not China. It's not the Chinese people. It's the CCP. It's the Chinese Communist Party. We have to get the nomenclature right. We have to get the nomenclature right. When Dr. Li Meng Yang talks, she talks about the Chinese Communist Party's P4 labs, the Chinese Communist Party's biological weapons program, the Chinese Communist Party's influence peddling and ownership of the world scientific community, the Chinese Communist Party ownership of the World Health Organization. It's not China. It's not the Chinese people. They got nothing to say about it. 1.4 billion Chinese people. There's 92 million communists. And by the way, most of the guys in the CCP, it's only 1,000 to make a decision. 5 families that run it. The richest families on earth. Jack Maxey yesterday on the Rush Limbaugh on the rally. The president was going off on China.
He was going off. I mean, I was listening to it, and just like you, Steve, I kept saying, well, gosh, if it's this bad, Mr. President, do something. And one thing that really struck me, Steve, was he declared them a currency manipulator. Okay? He said that this is one of the reasons why we're not getting a fair deal. Well, then do something about that, Mr. President. Actions speak louder than words.
Mnuchin and the Wall Street crowds are always over there. Oh, no, they're not currency manipulators. We won't do that. Action, action, action. The time for action is here. Okay, so we've got a 2-hour special today. We're going to be going through these themes. This is everything. This is everything. It's not just about winning the election, which this is absolutely central to. If the White House had just turned the spotlight on what the problem is, we wouldn't be in October, and I have to see polls that you're down in the 30s on handling of the coronavirus, because the mainstream media's got the whole world thinking you're the problem with the coronavirus. You're not the problem with the coronavirus. You've done a Herculean effort, as Betsy McCoy said the other day, to sort things out, to get vaccines and therapeutics and ventilators and Defense Production Act and the PPE. But nobody turned the spotlight on what the problem is. And we have to have a young doctor at the risk of her life and her family's life that has to leave her own country and come over here and be like Cassandra. And thank God for Tucker Carlson, and thank God for the Daily Mail, and thank God for these institutions and media institutions that have put her up and let her voice get out there to the world. So I want to bring in, and we want to do this show in a couple of organized fashions. I want to go through Dr. Yan's kind of a fact witness of kind of the timeline of what happened and what happened. Then I want to go back to the white paper. Jack Maxey is our resident expert in that. The first white paper, right? And by the way, this show is made for all the non-biology majors, right? I took the last biology course I took was in prep school, and I think I got a gentleman's C. I think the junior varsity football coach taught it, and I got a gentleman's C. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to get in her newest paper, which is, and if you don't think Dr. Yan can get more controversial, you just stick with Dr. Yan is going to get more controversial because now she's saying, hey, you can't run and hide from this, right? Because if you believe Dr. Yan, They've been lying about. Remember, they're not supposed to have a biological weapon. Nobody's supposed to have a biological weapons program, right? We all signed treaties that everybody's going to lay it down. Why did we do that? When we don't have that with nuclear weapons, why do we have that? Because these are about 100 times more deadly. Because once these get out, there's no stopping them, right? You can have tens, hundreds of millions. You could wipe out the entire human population. This is not a science fiction movie. This is reality. You see them walking around in those suits in the P4 labs. They're not walking around there because they like sweating internally. They're walking around there because the very smallest exposure, you're gone. And it's not. And everybody says, "Oh, this is just like the flu." My partner Jack Max is just like the flu. Hey, they're dying when you get this and you're dying in agony, right? What is Trump freaked out about the other day? That guy he knows, the real estate guy, the bull. The bull went down hard, right? And that's in Trump's head, right? He said that. He said,
absolutely.
He said at the time,
I'm not going to end up like my buddy.
I'm not going to look like my buddy. He said that guy was a tough guy, and he went out hard. Okay, we're going to turn to, we only got a couple minutes here, but I want to bring in, I can't talk the entire opening segment. I got to bring in Dr. Yan, an American hero, really a hero to the Chinese people, a hero to the American people, and I think really to the world community. Dr. Yan, thank you so much for taking your time to join us on this special, which is America Confronts the Chinese Communist Party's virus. Dr. Yan, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Yan, I tell you, we got 2 minutes here. Can you I just want to give your academic bona fides, your academic background. I don't think everybody doesn't realize you're both a medical doctor and you also have a PhD as a researcher. So we got about 2 minutes. Can you just walk through your academic credentials? And I know you were educated on mainland, I think in a PLA university. Could you just walk through for a couple of minutes your academic bona fides?
Okay, so after my middle school in Qingdao in mainland China, I took the exam and went into a top medical university, the Central South University and the Xiangya Medical College for 7-year program of clinical medicine. When we graduate, we will have both MD degree and also an MPhil degree. So this college is founded by the University of Yale in US 100 years ago. And then after my 7-year study, I got my degrees, and also I pursued my PhD study in Southern Medical University in Guangzhou, which was a former military university. But when I was there, it is already a local university, and I never been into PLA, and I'm not a CCP member. So I took my degree in ophthalmology there. After that, after 3 years study there, I went to the University of Hong Kong because I don't want to only be a clinical doctor in mainland China, but I want to pursue the further research because I want to see the more opportunity in studying the basic things of translational medicine to help the global health. So when I went to the University of Hong Kong, the first 2 years, I still working in the eye field, so about stem cell and inflammation. Later, Professor Malik Paris in the School of Public Health asked me whether I want to go to his department when I got my PhD degree. So I feel it's a challenge, but it's very interesting because emerging disease is a big challenge for me and also for global health. And it's a top school in the Hong Kong and also the top lab in the world.
Dr. Yan, we're going to take a short commercial break. You hang right there. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be back with War and Pandemic. Dr. Mi-Ling Yan, just a moment.
War Room with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
John Fredericks Radio Network on Real America's Voice, which is the streaming platform for the Trump Revolution. That's Dish Channel 219 and, of course, Chicago Comcast Channel 113. John Fredericks Radio Network is actually the radio network of the deplorables. So you have the two, the radio and the streaming and the TV, the cable of the Trump Revolution. and Chris Ruddy's Newsmax TV and 70 million homes. And every day in Mandarin throughout the world in G News and GTV, and plus we're everywhere, YouTube, all the platforms. And we have over 16 million downloads on the podcast. So we're ubiquitous. You can get us everywhere. Very proud of this show. Really proud of the audience. Dr. Meng Yan is a world hero. She is the defector from the Hong Kong lab that brought the truth to this about this virus to the world, and she is our guest on this 2-hour special, America Confronts the CCP virus. The operant word here is confront, okay? If you're not watching college football on Saturday, or not watching the version of college football where you're used to, because I don't know what we're watching now, because NFL and college football are just not the same, then and don't have a paycheck, and you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your rent in a couple months, you owe it to the Chinese Communist Party. It's not Nancy Pelosi's fault. It's not Donald Trump's fault. It's not the governor of Michigan's fault. It's not Governor Abbott's fault in Texas. It is the Chinese Communist Party. Dr. Yan is the truth teller that gave up her life, essentially, come to the West and tell that truth. Dr. Yan, I want to go now. I want to focus on Hong Kong University. When we first started this show, in the very first episode back, and we had done a couple of previous warm-up shows with Miles Guo during Lunar New Year, but we learned pretty quickly. And in fact, Jack, if you remember this first couple of shows, Dr. Gabriel Jung from Hong Kong University, the epidemiologist in the School of Health, his counterpart, the virologist, is Dr. Malik Pierce. Yeah. And this is a World Health Organization. It's the WHO reference lab. And it's probably one of the most prominent, if not the most prominent, maybe Johns Hopkins, the Bloomberg Public Health. There may be a couple of others, but this is in the top 2 or 3. And the reason is that Hong Kong University is known as the home of the SARS virus hunters, essentially. I realize there's a senior doctor at one of the labs, one of the universities in mainland China, but Malik and Gabriel Leung. In fact, Gabriel was the one that did the very first models, the very first time that we actually talked about a model. Jack Max, you remember, I think it was on episode 2 or 3.
And what's amazing is his model has really held up.
Model is pretty good. He felt so bad about it. Remember, he flew to London. He gave the big interview with The Guardian. He flew to Geneva and talked to the WHO, saying, hey, I don't know why you guys aren't calling this a pandemic. So, Dr. Yan, tell us about Hong Kong University. Why is it a world-class institution, particularly about this topic, which is SARS? Why is Hong Kong University so special in the School of Public Health there that you were a senior researcher for?
Because actually SARS, as we know, come from 2003. First happened in mainland China, Guangzhou, which is close to Hong Kong. And then it goes to Hong Kong, made a pandemic outbreak in Hong Kong. So before 2003, although there are human coronavirus, but it's not very serious. It's basically like the common cold. People don't pay much attention to that. And since the 2003, they start to realize that SARS is very lethal, a human-to-human transmission airborne disease. And the most important thing is most of samples and cases are in Hong Kong and mainland China. And compared to mainland China, the University of Hong Kong has a better expert, which are foreigners or have a lot of foreign experience. So they are the one quickly confirm the pathogen, first batch of people in the world, and do a lot of downstream research. So among them, Professor Malik Pierce and Dr. K.Y. Yun, and also Professor Guan Yi, they are the very famous expert, made their position in that field from that time. So from that time, China government also encouraged SARS-related research, and also from WHO, from other NIH, this kind of organizations, give a lot of funding to us. That's why we later become the top coronavirus lab in the world.
So you're working at the top coronavirus lab in the world, and it's pretty logical why it's the top in the world. Number one, China knows it has this problem, right? And the guys that own all the real estate in Hong Kong, right, understand that when they froze up in 2003, they understand that the price of that real estate would really drop if a pandemic ever hit Hong Kong. So it's completely logical why it's the world-class place, and you've got the best of the best, and they're always on watch for a SARS virus. And remember, we're coming off of, for our American audience may not know all the details, but and particularly in the John Fredericks Radio Network, you'll appreciate this because the Chinese bought Smithfield, the Smithfield Company, so you know everything about hogs and pork, and it's so central to the Chinese diet and really Chinese culture and Chinese cuisine and food. They lost 50%, Jack Maxey, am I correct? 50% of the hog population is slaughtered because of a swine flu in, I think, July, August, and September of 2019.
African swine flu, and they're still having a problem with these floods have exacerbated. It's a pretty significant virus, and it's very hard to get out of the commercial farming setting. I mean, when they had it in Spain a few years ago, a decade ago, some of their commercial farms took up to a year to eradicate the virus.
So the Chinese are always on watch on these because they understand the urbanization of the country. Remember, 1.4 billion in Hubei province, you have, I think, 20 cities over like 2 million people. It's insane. But the urbanization and people living on top of each other and things, that they're very sensitive to this, okay? Dr. Yan, I didn't want to go back to your life. What happened? How did you become a major actor in this in late December of 2019, early January of 2020? Walk us through. We got about 5 minutes, but I want you to walk us through your story of how you even got engaged in this, other than your research that you were doing every day in Hong Kong.
Because I have been working with Professor Malik Paris and Professor Liu Peng, who is the head of the Center of Influenza in that school for 5 years, and I am the core team member in that research team. So I have I'm the only one, except for Malik Paris, have the MD PhD degree. That means when I get into this kind of field, collect information, I can quickly understand the meaning behind it. And the second thing is I'm the only one in the core team speak in Mandarin from mainland China. And also I have my very unique, vast network in China from my alumni and my friends. So basically they are from the hospitals in all over China, and also the authorities like CDC, and also the institute, no matter the local one or the military ones. So at that time, end of December, when the news come out that Professor Liu Peng and Malik say no, there was an unknown pneumonia happened in Wuhan. It is like an outbreak, but lack of information from official side to them. So Professor Liu Peng bring me to his office on 31 December 2019 and told me face to face that you need to do some secret investigation. You have to collect the information and to check what exactly happened about this SARS-like virus in Wuhan. And he need to write a report. He's also the team member for the Hong Kong Health Consultant.
Hold on, Dr. Yan, hang on for 1 second, just to make for our American audience. On December 31st, so they knew, these are the top guys in the world at the lab that's a reference lab. The reason it's a reference lab, it's in that time free Hong Kong, not mainland China. The top guys come to you because you've got the network, because guess what? You're from the mainland. You have an MD and a PhD. You speak Mandarin. People realize they're speaking Cantonese down in Hong Kong, which is like French and German. You've got all the... They know by late December there's a pneumonia-like, SARS-like, something happening in central China, and they bring you into the office, and Dr. Poon says, hey, we need you with your contacts to basically get engaged in there and start and draft a report. Let us know what's going on. Is that correct? Did I summarize that correctly?
No draft of a report because they don't want to leave the writing things. Right. But I face-to-face talk to him, report everything immediately later.
So what did you do for what you got? We got about a minute and a half. What was your first action after he told you on 31 December of 2019 to engage? What was your first action?
I asked why he cannot do that, because he is a big guy. And he said because China government is not happy to release such information, and they don't allow the people, even the Hong Kong expert, to go to Wuhan to get know these things. That's why he need my secret investigation, and he told me to be careful, to keep secret. And they don't want to touch the red line. Clearly, he knows there's red line. And then I turned to my network and quickly, found some people and I talked to them. So I get a lot of first-hand information, including the ones from the CDC and from the local hospital. And I report to you immediately when I get
Dr. Yan, hang on. We're going to get into the details of all that. We got to take a short commercial break. We got to pay for this show. What Dr. Yan just told you, hey, they told her to start making phone calls, find out what's going on, and don't cross the red line. We're going to return in a minute with a world hero, Dr. Meng Yan. She's going to tell us what that red line is, what she found out. 31 December, ladies and gentlemen, Southampton University told us if the CCP had been honest then, only 5% of the deaths, 5% of the economic destruction. A global hero, Dr. Yan, will return on War Room Pandemic in just a moment.
War Room with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
This event has changed the direction of the United States as much as Black Thursday and the Great Depression, as much as really the attack on Pearl Harbor, as much as 9/11. And yet we sit here at each other's throats. The difference in 9/11 and Pearl Harbor, the country came together in unity because we were adults and we could face what exactly we were up against. It couldn't be clearer what happened here. And as much as I love the president and support the president and understand that the president, we have to win in November, his best saying, the one I love the most, is no games, no more games. We got to stop playing games with a murderous dictatorship, and that is the Chinese Communist Party. You don't think they're bad guys? This young woman that has shown more bravery than anybody to come forward and to call them out every day since she arrived in the United States, I think, in late March, early April. What have they done to reward her besides intimidate her friends and colleagues and try to destroy her reputation personally? What have they done? They've arrested members of her family, particularly her beloved mother and father. And remember, you have a one-child policy in China. All the forced abortions, right? The 140 million hungry ghosts that have been killed by the Chinese Party, slaughtered by the Chinese Communist Party. So parents only have one child, right? And she's here as a witness of fact. And in the top university in the world, and this is what gets me about the mainstream media. You're science-based, you're evidence-based, you're fact-based. I get preached this every day by Chris Cuomo and Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow. Well, why aren't you looking at the top university in the world, Hong Kong University, the one that's on watch? You know how they're on. You know why they're on watch? They're the reference lab for the World Health Organization for this very thing. And who was the person running that lab? Dr. Yan. But you don't see her on the Rachel Maddow show. Don't see her on Chris Cuomo. You don't have my favorite, Sanjay Gupta. You don't have Dr. Gupta interviewing her. They can't handle the truth. I had Katie Tur. We finished the day, cut Katie Tur on. She's lecturing. She's yammering on about something. She's yammering. They got that guy Gibney with his new movie. Gibney, have you interviewed Dr. Yan? In your big search for the truth and your big thing out about Trump and all this, did you talk about Dr. Yan? Dr. Yan been here since April. Dr. Yan got a research report. Dr. Yan, and she came from the top university. You guys are all evidence-based. One Harvard, one this, that. She came from the top university of the world and worked for the top people. And this is their specialty. because they understand. You mentioned SARS. Jack Maxey tells me on December 26th, Boxing Day, we got the day off on impeachment. He's saying, hey, I saw a blog. I think they got a SARS thing in China. Everybody in Hong Kong freezes. Dr. Lee, who eventually died, he and his buddies on the WeChat were going around, hey, I think we got a problem. We got these pneumonia guys coming in here to the hospitals in Wuhan.
And it's why they got the World Health Organization to call it COVID-19, because if they called it SARS-CoV-2, they would have panic in the streets in China.
COVID-19. Jack Maxey drops it on you. So, Dr. Yan, they designate you, hey, we got to find out what's going on, and we have to find out fast, right? We need you to make some phone calls. You've got contacts. In fact, you know Beijing CDC. So go off the books and make some calls and come back to us ASAP. Walk us through what happens. Who do you call? What happens? Who do you report back to?
So from my friend in CDC in Beijing, I got information, and that includes several aspects. First, in Wuhan in December, there are already more than 40 cases confirmed. And these cases include the one who don't have the history in the seafood market. But somehow, China government insists that everyone who get diagnosed has to have the market history. That's why they claim there are only 27 cases at that time. And also, back to December, Wuhan Virus Institute already got the sequence of this virus, but they didn't report it, and government doesn't allow it to be published. And also the third thing is family cluster happened. That means human-to-human transmission exists, but China government insists there is no human-to-human transmission.
Okay. Hang on. We got to stop for these three. I got to go back to these three for an American audience, because this is why your life has changed. She just nails three right off the bat. Number one, there were already 40 cases in Wuhan in December, right? But they were going to even lie about that. Only 27 we can talk about, because only 27 can somehow be associated with the wet market, right? So, and this is in December, ladies and gentlemen. December. Also, we know that there's also human-to-human transmission, right? And we also know that there's a problem down in the P4 lab. Those three things alone, right? They know that immediately. In Beijing CDC is telling her, hey, we know we got a problem, and we got it in Wuhan, around the P4 lab, right? They already got 40 cases, but if you got 40, that means you're going to have 40,000, right? Oh, and we can't talk about the 40 because the only talk about 27 because the 40 of them, only 27 can be associated to the wet market, and we got to keep attached to the wet market because that'll get the thing off the lab.
That's the narrative. Yeah.
That's the narrative. So they've already crafted. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Yan. They're already coming up with the crafting of the narrative even in December. Is that correct?
Yes, and one more thing I want to remind that actually from the cases, there are people who have no contact to other patients and also no history to seafood market.
That's another. Well, in litigation, they call that a bad fact,
which
right?
Also implies that there was community transmission going on already, and they denied that reality.
I don't want to jump around too much, but you just bring up a great point, and Jack Maxey has pulled up the World Health Organization, and we don't want to kick a beaten dog like a World Health Organization, but this is critical to what the mainstream media, why the Democrats can't come out to vote on Election Day. They've traumatized their base because they will not go back and look at the facts like adults. He's got their critical path up, the World Health Organization. Dr. Yan, you're telling me that a scientist associated, we don't want to give his name out, associated with the Beijing CDC told you on early January that there was human-to-human transmission and community spread. The World Health Organization sent out a press release on January 12th, followed by a tweet on January 14th, while a delegation of senior cadre of the Chinese Communist Party is in the East Wing of the White House, East Wing of the White House, signing the first phase of the trade deal. And they come out and say, after consultation with senior members of Chinese health authorities, there is no human-to-human transmission or community spread. So, Dr. Yan, how could that? What is that? That's either a bald-faced lie, or WHO. Did they not get the correct information from you, the Hong Kong lab? Because you guys are the reference lab, aren't you? The check. How did they get so missed? How did they? You were told in January 1st or 2nd, yet on the 12th and 14th, they're telling the world nothing to worry about here.
They know it, of course, but they're scared of Chinese Communist Party. For example, Dr. Liu Peng, he directly after the 2nd January, contacted my friend in CDC directly, and he told me later that you get out of this investigation for a while from the 3rd January. Is that because it's dangerous and the China government doesn't want us to talk about it, so I won't tell you more about the information. I said, okay. And then they are obedient to China government's policies. China government doesn't want people to talk about it, and they want people just listen to their statement. That's why the WHO later said there is no case, and all their statement is the same. As what China government said.
Dr. Yan,
also behind that, there is benefit, of course.
The last time you were on the show, you dropped kind of a bomb. I believe you said that Dr. Pierce had traveled to Wuhan in early January. Can you explain that a little bit better or more clearly?
Before Wuhan got locked down, he went to the mainland China, and he went to Wuhan at least twice, secretly.
He went to Wuhan actually secretly, and
no. And for fun, definitely.
Right, and Malik Pierce is a World Health Organization physician. Am I correct? He is
consultant. I think is he a consultant or actually part of the World Health Organization?
He's the top guy behind Dr. Tedros, behind the technical officer, director in the COVID-19 team, the Dr. Maria. He's the one behind that.
There's no doubt in your mind. I want to make sure we're clear about this. Is there any doubt in your mind that senior members of the World Health Organization knew the facts, or was the CCP so lying to them that they would not know the facts? When they put out that press release and when they put out that tweet on the 14th and the press release on the 12th, were they misled, or did they actually understand something was going on and they just lied along with the CCP?
They are the one who's put to that position, so I'm sure they are not stupid, right? So definitely they know all the things, and the people provide information to them, Professor Liu Peng and Professor Malik Pierce and other people from China side, and those people also know what happened. And these people, they work all together very well. Doesn't like some stupid behavior and know nothing.
I want to go back. We got a couple of minutes left in this segment, but I want to go back to the second thing you said about that. They actually never put forward. I want to go to this time. We got about a minute. They didn't actually put the correct genome up, but then they realized they had a problem. They pulled that back. It gets a little complicated. Explain it to the audience what they did about putting out the correct genome sequence and then trying to cover it up.
And Dr. Yan, go slow, because I know this is technical, okay, but take it slow. We got time.
Okay, briefly, so on 10th January, China government said they have the sequence of the genome of the virus in Wuhan. And then they publish it from the NIH, the Gene Bank, which is the biggest database on such pathogens, DNA sequence in the world. And they posted it there on 12th January, so we can check it. And my husband checked it immediately, and he realized there were some error things happened. So those errors are very unusual because the virus genome is basically like our fingerprint. It's like you check it like you take photo. So you upload it, maybe there will be some gap or something, but there should be not such error. Make you cannot find the family of them, cannot have any hint to find their family. But 2 days later, they changed the version to version 2 and clearly mentioned on website that it's replaced or removed the version 1, which is also very unusual. And at that case,
Dr. Yan, hang on a second. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back to this. This is very important about the genome sequence because you can't really get to a vaccine unless you know what you're working with. Okay, short commercial break. War and pandemic. The most important 2 hours of your media life is going on now as you find out how this virus started.
War Room with Stephen K. Bannon. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to War and Pandemic. We have Dr. Yan from Hong Kong University. She is the controversial scientist and researcher that has come forward. She's defected from China, and she's a fact witness about what actually went on in late December of 2019, in January of 2020. And the reason you're at home today with no paycheck and can't pay your rent and not watching quality college football is because of the CCP virus. Dr. Yang, let's go back. So they put out a sequence on the 12th, but then they pulled that down and they put another sequence up on the 14th. That, I assume, Mr. Maxey, is highly unusual. Why would they put up a genome sequence on one day and then 48 hours? Why would they? Is that normal? I thought once you put it into this database, it kind of is. And scientists, they're not in the business of making mistakes that are that big. If it's the sequence, it's the sequence. And I assume a number of top guys sign off on it. It's not just some junior guy walking around, I think I'm going to put this up. I imagine it's discussed, debated, and it says, yeah, now's the time to put it up, correct?
Well, Dr. Yan can explain this for us better than I can right now. I think one of the things that we need to do, Dr. Yan, is explain how, for any virus, particularly this one, though, you get the gene sequence, because there's steps that you need to go through, and they didn't necessarily follow them in the same way that you would expect somebody to do this. And this was particularly true when we came out later that month with the RATG, 113 virus that they say Dr. Z found in the bats, but it was only had a fragment of that as well. In both instances, they did not follow what would be considered normal procedures for the revelation. Can you talk to us about that?
Simply describe how people get the virus sequence. So this virus sequence is basically, for example, for the SARS-CoV-2, it's just like 30,000 English letters. Each letter is the nucleotide. And these 30,000 letters, how could we get it? You can refer my report to the figure 1. I tell you 2 ways to get it. First way is you really working on something to get it. Then you get the sample, you extract the RNA, you do the RT-PCR, which is basically you add some other thing, enzymes, some other primer things, and run it in the machine. After that, you do the NGS raw sequencing read. This is done by the machine, by the very good program. And then you see whether you have the all part of genome like the Lego one. You maybe have the 5 part or 7 part, and you get it out and see whether it can be assembled to the whole virus. If not, you go back to check the gap filling. And basically, again, after the reading, you get some part of the genome, then you put it in. It's like the puzzle. Finally, you have all pieces of the Lego. Another way is easy. You can change the letter directly, like writing the things.
Let me ask you, let me jump in here. Why did you decide, I believe you started coming forward and you went on Lou Does, he's got a show on GTV, I think it is. It's massive in mainland China. He's also a guy that's left China and has come to the West and has a show that blows back through the firewall. What was it that made you reach out to the media to start to get your story out when you're still in Hong Kong and still under jeopardy? What motivated you? What compelled you to go do this? Because I take it this is not the normal way that these types of things are worked out in China. Okay,
so basically, when I the second time in 16th January was assigned to this investigation. And after my investigating before and after, Professor Liu Peng all warned me that you have to be careful. If not, you will be despaired. Yeah, so I have to keep silent for the things I found, and they definitely have no response. WHO no response. Hong Kong government have no necessary performance, and also China government keep cover up. And all my information collected, and also based on my experience working in virology and immunology, vaccine development, and also I work with such top experts for years. I know quite familiar about Professor charismatic. So I know that is something very terrible, and also it's an urgent time because that is a period of Chinese New Year transportation. Outbreak is coming. We have to push the information out, deliver out, and push the overseas, maybe government or expert give pressure back to China government for the thorough control of this coming outbreak immediately.
Let me ask you, you're at the top place in the world whose job is to make sure this doesn't happen. You see on the 12th that the WHO puts out a press release saying there's no community spread. On the 14th, they put out a tweet right when the CCP's in the White House. You know the truth. Do you think right then that this is a catastrophe that's going to happen? I mean, what's going through your head when you see the WHO and you're at the reference lab and you see Geneva putting out what you know as a fact that the Chinese Communist Party CDC in Beijing knows is a lie? What goes through your mind?
I think they know each other very well because like WHO and other experts from NIH, even some experts and like top experts, they all have a very close tight collaboration with our Hong Kong lab and also with Chinese Communist Party for years. So they know the truth, and whatever China government decide, let them know or not decide, not want them to speak out, or they know the truth, the China government want them to cover up, they will collaborate very well with China government because they are afraid of Chinese Communist Party and they get a lot of benefits behind. So this is a big corruption thing, but not just happen. It just come out because of the outbreak.
Okay, we're going to turn. This is Dr. Li Meng Yan from Hong Kong University. She's a defector and one of the bravest people in the world. Yesterday on Daily Mail, the biggest news site in the world, massive story about her and her latest report about the biological weapons program in the CCP. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return with our next episode. This is on all of us. It's on your shoulders, deplorables. We cannot allow this to go down. This is looking the other way at genocide. This is looking the other way at criminal negligence. This is looking the other way at an act of war. I'm not prepared to do that, okay? And I hope this audience is not prepared to do it either. We're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to return on War and Pandemic, and I really want to thank the John Fredericks Radio Network, the Real America's Voice, Newsmax TV, G News, GTV, all of our distribution partners that support us in this search for truth. We will return with another hour of Dr. Yan. Her two papers. One, she proves it didn't come from a fresh market, and number two, she proves it's a biological weapons program.